Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Coffee with Kelly. I'm a senior tax manager working at a Big Four public accounting firm, and today we're going to go through one of the most popular topics of all, which is how to ace your interview. So today we're gonna go through a four-step method, which would be applicable regardless if you have a lot of working experience or very little because you're out of university. We're going to go over an in-depth tutorial on how to use ChatGPT to ace your interview as well and do an amazing job. So let's get to it. Okay, so right now we're going to go over this four-step process to make sure you ace your interview. So for the first one is memory recollection. So what does this mean? It means that no matter if you have very little experience as a university student or a very seasoned professional, you must have some type of experience in your past, 20 or 30 years in life. So no matter if you're a student and you help with, volunteering for a fundraising event, maybe you were a lifeguard or a cheerleader team, you were part of the basketball team, or if you're a seasoned professional who has done, multiple jobs at work, you will be able to craft these memories into storytelling, which we'll also talk about. But first step is to recall these memory because you probably have done a lot, but you didn't realize that you have done a lot. So first step is to recall every single job, volunteer, event, any assistance you have done in life to date into maybe do a Google Doc or even an Excel if you want to be very organized, or you can just journal and write it down on paper the old fashioned way. Just jot down as much as you can remember based on any experiences you have to date. And then this next step is bucketing. So what do we mean by bucketing? It means that each of these experience must relate to a specific skill set. So, for example, if you maybe were a piano teacher teaching like kid playing piano, what skill set were you able to gain from that experience? So maybe you gained communication skill or time management because you had to juggle between teaching piano and school. So you must have gained some skills during these different memories and experiences. And the bucketing part is where ChatGPT would be able to help, and I can show you later to make sure that you are able to demonstrate these skill set when you are in the interview. And then third is storytelling. So storytelling is something that is very, very important in your career and in life, and many people do not recognize it. So presentation is a skill set, public speaking is a skill set, but the craft of storytelling is able to communicate during like a presentation that you're telling a story. When you listen to an Apple event or when Google presents on their latest Gen AI features, other than the feature and functionality that you listen to, you also realize that when they present, they talk about how you would be able to use it. When Google demonstrate that on Google Map you'll be able to see like 3D map, they actually show you and they talk about like a story that you did not realize they're telling in their event, which brings the emotional part of it, right? Like you really, really want that product. So storytelling is very important. And when you go to an interview, storytelling is also part of it. You need to demonstrate that you're able to tell the interviewer your story, like your what you experience in life and what you gain from it. And it can be a very compelling story, and they would realize that you are able to communicate. First of all, you're able to present to others, and the skills that you gain, that you're able to, like, through communication, tell other people about it. So storytelling is very important, and of course practice. So again, ChatGPT can help you with the practice part. It can help you with the bucketing and also storytelling part. So let's get to the next part where we'll go through a very detailed walkthrough on what we can do in ChatGPT. Okay, let's get started. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to use ChatGPT 4, which is the pro version. But the idea and logic is similar to the ChatGPT 3.5 as well. So first, what I'm going to show is the custom instructions, which I cater to make sure my responses are what I would like it to be. So in the prompt in here, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide a better response? So, for this tutorial, I pretended that I am a third year university student studying in Canada and majoring in accounting. And I also, because I am in tax, usually I would put that I am in Toronto, Canada, and to take the local laws into account. Um, I also add a little bit of personality flavor here, so they would like cater to my personality as well, and you can do that based on what you would like to do. For how would you like ChatGPT to respond? I put that I would like it to be long and detailed and create tables when making comparisons and whenever appropriate. So you'll see later in the tutorial how this is actually quite helpful in organizing your thoughts as well. And I really find the little disclaimers they have a little bit annoying, like please, I am not an expert in this area. Please consult your advisor. So I put that you can assume you are the expertise and you don't need to provide all the disclaimers. So that is what I will, that's what you can use as well. And for the purpose of this tutorial, put some experience and ask them to craft compelling stories. So I already did a little bit here so that you don't need to watch me typing all the time. Okay. So as I mentioned, you do not need like a whole internship at McKinsey or anything like that to make sure you get into a really good company, I would say. You just need to craft your stories really well. So right here, what I have done is pretend that I'm a second or third year student, maybe hoping to get a full time at a big four or an internship or co-op. So here I kind of put my experience or kind of beta experience. So here I serve as a barista at Starbucks for a summer job. Okay, in high school, I was a math tutor for high school students when I was in university, and I was also part of the accounting club where I assisted with the treasury function. So these are very common, maybe part time or side jobs that a university student might have done. And feel free to, just try to recall. Just like we went over the four-step process, the first one is memory, recollection, and organization. So, what is very important as is that you actually, do Google Doc, or you can have just like, look back at your journal or whatever you have done. You might have help, like a family friend, like an uncle with his business. You could have, did some babysitting. Any customer service experience is actually also very helpful because Big Four accounting firm is a client serving the business. It's just from a different perspective, but the same skills would apply. So customer service is really great, and where you did some problem solving, maybe you were part of like a club, anything like that would also be very relevant. So here are some examples that I put, and then I would put how can I use these experience to help me craft compelling stories. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT gives us. We're going to play by year because every time the prompt will be or response will be different, so I'm just going to play by year right now. Okay, they're going to give you, okay, great, you demonstrate your strength and attributes. Okay. ChatGPT is a little slow. Maybe I have my recording on. Okay, so as you see here, this is exactly what would be very helpful when you prepare for your interview. So when you think for yourself, when you were a barista at Starbucks, you might have not thought, okay, how did I, demonstrate that I had teamwork or customer service or anything like that? But they would give you a direction of where your story can head, which can demonstrate the skill set and attributes a partner, let's say at a big four or any other role or any senior role, let's say CFO or VP, would be looking for in an interview candidate. So here you can see, okay, and also for my custom instruction, this is where you'll find it really helpful when it is in a table. Because usually, if it's not in a table, they'll list everything in like a really long essay or memo form, which I don't really want to read. So here you'll see that if you were a barista at a Starbucks, you illustrated customer service, teamwork, adaptability, and quick learning. And they would also give you a direction for your story. So, for example, You can, talk about a particularly busy morning when you had to handle multiple orders. It might not have applied to yourself, but you can also think of other stuff that actually happened based on um, the logic that ChatGPT gave you. So teamwork, again, maybe you had some colleagues that you work with and then you did not have enough ingredients, so they try to cater it to your experience. Then of course you can run with the direction of the storytelling and then craft even more compelling stories based on your experience. So math tutor for high school students, patience and teaching. Okay, so um, patience, of course, attention to detail and facilitation is also a very important part of being at a big four. Communication, interpersonal skills. So, okay, see, adjusting to your teaching style for different students and emphasize your adaptability. So at a big four, adapting to different levels of audience is very important. So for example, you would email to like a CFO, or you could be emailing to a finance analyst who is not very strong in tax. You'll need to cater for different audience types, and maybe you need to put in more layman's terms from an accounting or tax perspective. So this is a very good skill that you can illustrate. And of course, analytical thinking, because you can break down complex concepts. So this is what you can show to your interviewer, that even though my experience might not be an actual internship at a large company, I still had these skill set because I did other things in my life. Okay, so this is how you can craft your story. And of course, university accounting club, this would be good. But looking back, you need to, go back to your memory and search for what exactly you did. Of course, you need to be honest and truthful about your experience. But you can also illustrate financial management accounting skills because you were in the treasury function. And even if you did not had treasury function, you can be like marketing, event planning. Those are really great skill set as well, because you can demonstrate organizational skill and leadership and responsibility. So this is a really good starting point when you're preparing for your interview and when you go back to your memory and search for the experiences that you did. So they would also mention the STAR technique, which you might have heard of before. When you respond to an interviewer, remember, start with the situation, the task, which is what I did, action, what action you took. Maybe you did something or talked it out with your team member or your leadership, and then what were the results. Okay, so set up the scene, and then try to relate it back to the job that you're interviewing for. It doesn't need to be accounting. This can apply to programming. You could be applying to a data analyst. You can be applying to a marketing manager. Anything really applies. Interview skill is it's very it applies to every industry basically. And then engage emotionally. So while you're staying professional, always still remember you're basically telling them about yourself. You're also trying to learn more about them. So be a bit more personable when you talk to, let's say, a partner. Don't be try not to be too scared and afraid to ask questions. So that's very important. Remember, interview is a two-way street. So you are interviewing them as well because you want to find more about the company that you're going to, and they are interviewing you because they want to know your skill set, your attitude, your personality, etc. Okay, so this is what you can do from your memories and recollection phase. So, and also help you with the storytelling. So, what we can do is, based on my experience, let's continue with this prompt. So, based on my experiences, okay, here, let me do that. Could you please act as the partner, assuming working at the Big Four, and help me with my interview? So let's see. And of course, ChatGPT would be very, very happy to help you. Okay. And they will also be very good at storytelling themselves. They'll say, okay, imagine you are in a comfortable meeting room facing you, a partner at one of the accounting firms. Okay. And what I find if you prompt it this way is that they would give you actually a long list of questions. They would have one and they'll continue. I remember trying this. They gave me like 10 questions. So if you don't want all of it at once, you can say, "Oh, give me can you give me, 5 questions and end there." So it depends on your preference. So let's see what they have come up with. Okay, Kelly, it's great to have you here. I've looked at your resume and I'm impressed by the variety of experience. Okay, let's start with your time at Starbucks. Okay, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of being a barista? And how do you see your experience? Okay, so that's when you kind of have to be very well prepared, look back at your specific job experience or work experience, and think of specific situation, because usually what they will go over is the very common theme. So teamwork, leadership, facing conflict. How did you deal with, ethical issues? These are very, very common um, topics that they will likely revolve around. So you need to think back to your experience and think about, okay, when did I deal with conflict when I worked at Starbucks? Maybe there was a customer who want like a double shot latte espresso with, 4 pumps of syrup that you don't really remember what they have ordered, and then you start to have an argument with them. Okay, that's facing conflict. And then you need to think back, okay, how did I resolve it? Did I call my store manager? Did I just really politely explain to the customer, like, can you repeat the order? Anything can be a conflict, really. If you think back to your work experience, especially working at customer service, you must have entered some type of conflict. So you just need to craft your story um, well and demonstrate that because of that experience, I learned how to grow as a professional and also how I dealt with it. So those are very important. So that's why you say your answer could revolve around managing multiple tasks efficiently, dealing with high pressure situations. So again, that's your job to do your homework and think about potential items that you could answer. Okay, here, then they'll go on. As I said, like they have tons of questions here, which is very good for practicing actually. They'll say, okay, interesting. Now let's transition from coffee to math. I see that you were a math tutor. So usually they would go back from your experience and also ask based on your part-time or university experience. Maybe you were part of volunteer. They'll focus on behavioral questions when you're at a more junior level. If you're starting out as a co-op, intern, associate, definitely behavioral questions would be um, the focus, because you might not have the technical um, knowledge to answer, and they don't really look for too much of a technical knowledge when you're just applying from a very junior position perspective. If you are applying for a more senior position, then there are other ways that we can also use ChatGPT to help us, which I can go over more in one of the later episodes. um, so here they will say, okay, how did you tailor your teaching approach to cater to different students? Okay, this is a very common question. So kudos for ChatGPT of coming up with that. And how did you hone your ability to communicate complex ideas? This is very common in Big Four. I think a lot of senior management, they want to know that you're able to communicate complex ideas to different audience, because a lot of our clients, they might have different levels of expertise or different levels of knowledge in different areas. So you can make sure that you're able to communicate complex ideas, and tax being one of the very complex ideas, to even people who haven't done tax before. So this is very important, and you can talk about how you taught the student, etc. Okay, and then they'll also basically they what ChatGPT was, they come up with different questions and also suggested how you can go about it. So part of this tutorial, I want to show you something that I think was is very helpful. Okay, so this is the prompt. They were helping you practice your interview, but questions are not enough. I want them to assess my response. So this is my prompt where I ask them to use this layout. You ask me a question, so ChatGPT asking me a question. I will provide a response. And based on my response, I want them to give me some constructive feedback and also suggestions for improvement, which is probably the most important part when you're preparing for an interview. That is that you want to improve as you prepare, right? And also give me an overall rating. So this is just more fun. So let's do that. Let's see what they come up with. And I'm, because this is recording live, so I'm going to think on the spot on how to respond, which is sometimes difficult. Okay. Okay, so this is the question. Kelly, can you describe a specific situation where you had to deal with a difficult customer or student and how you managed to resolve the situation? Okay, let's go back to the Starbucks um, story that we had. Okay. Okay. One afternoon while I was working at a Starbucks shift, okay, um, there was a customer who did multiple orders for their team. However, he went very quickly on the order, which was very detailed with 4 pumps of syrups. And I had trouble um, taking the order because I was quite new at the time. Okay, this is actually really good to add. If, of course, if it's real, is that it shows you you're adaptable. So when you say, okay, I was quite new at the time, but I was able to handle it, or at least they got the context of, maybe it's different if you worked at Starbucks for 3 years versus 3 months, right? So it's good to give them context as well. So elaborate when you're answering your question. Okay, so however, he went quickly, because I was new at that time. Okay, um, okay, the customer ended up being very angry, and we got into a heated argument. Um, I thought the best approach was to bring in the store manager. Let's type it here. Store manager to resolve the issue. Since I was new and did not have the experience, I believe I should not be afraid to bring him in to resolve the matter. And being a manager for him had credibility and authority. Um, my manager at that time handled it very well, and I was very polite and respectful and apologized, if you did, a number of times. The customer ended up being satisfied. I also learned from, okay, this is important that you learned, okay? I also learned from this situation because I was able to shadow my manager on how he handled the situation. Okay, let's see what it says. Okay, so what ChatGPT usually does when you do it this way is they'll give you strengths. They'll give you positive things that you had based on your story, and they'll also give you areas of improvement. Okay, so positive, you can see that okay, you took ownership, right? You, well, based on the story I crafted, of course, you acknowledged that you were new, but you were able, and you were self-aware, basically, that in that case, me, that I was able to handle these complicated orders quickly, but I did not have the skill at that time because I was so new. um Decision making, seeking the assistance of your manager showed maturity, right? I did not try to handle it myself, and or else it might have gotten to a worse situation. So that was actually good decision making. Okay, that's good to know, because sometimes you're not really self-aware on what you did good and what you did bad, right? And then learning attitude, you use this situation as a learning opportunity, which is great. Okay, areas of improvement. Initial handling, okay, must have been more beneficial to communicate to customer upfront about your newness. Okay. Um, Escalating too quickly. Okay, that's more on looking back what it would have been if you're done. But I think overall, these two is just like if you run into that scenario, you can also tell your interviewer, next time I can improve on these. Like they would recognize that you learn from the situation as well. And refinement in language, okay, that's good to know. Phrases like got into a heated argument can be replaced with more neutral terms like a disagreement or challenging interaction. It sounds more professional and less okay. See, these are really good improvement areas that ChatGPT can help me with. Because I was just thinking about it on the spot, so it was more casual for sure. But when you go into a more professional interview setting, then this is definitely a very good suggestion. So as you can see, ChatGPT can help you not only practice, but it can give you constructive feedback, which is very important in the preparation stage. So overall, okay, I got a 75%. Your answer demonstrate maturity. They'll tell you, summarize what you did good and what you can do better. So as you can see, like this type of prompt can help you with your interview, no matter if you're like students starting out into either accounting world. You can do it for consulting, you can do it for a data analytic role or technology role. It really doesn't matter, but this really helps you with the behavioral aspect from an interview, and it can also help you from a technical aspect if you prompt it differently. And if you are interested, feel free to comment and like for future videos, of course. And so this is one. I'm not going to do another one because it's going to be too long. So hope everyone found that to be helpful and where you can use it to prepare and also ace your next interview, whether you are still a student or an experienced professional already working in the corporate world. And please, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe so you will catch the next video as well. Maybe we'll continue with the interview tips and hacks, and or just comment below if there's anything else you would like me to cover. So thank you for watching and see you next time.